I'm caught in a complicated situation and I need your advice to figure out if I'm in the wrong. It's a story that spans over 19 years and involves my estranged mom. Here's what happened. When I was a kid, my mom made a choice. She decided to give me up for adoption so she could start a new life with her new husband after my dad passed away. It was a really confusing and painful time for me because I had always hoped to have a close relationship with my mom. But instead, she prioritized her new family and left me behind. As a kid in foster care, I faced some tough stuff. One big issue was always moving around. I never stayed in one place for too long. So I had to keep adjusting to new homes, new people, and new rules. It made it hard to feel like I belonged or make lasting friendships. Another problem was feeling abandoned and disconnected from my own family. I couldn't be with my parents, and it hurt a lot. I didn't understand why I had to be apart from them, and it made me feel sad and confused. Sometimes the foster homes weren't great either. I had some good foster parents who cared for me, but there were times when things weren't so good. Sometimes I didn't get the support or love I needed. I didn't always have someone looking out for me or helping me through tough times. School was another challenge. I had to switch schools a lot, and it was hard to keep up with different teachers, subjects, and classmates. It felt like I was always playing catch up, and it made it tough to do well in my studies. Being in foster care was tough. Well, another big problem was that sometimes the money meant for us kids was used by the foster parents for themselves. They didn't spend it on things I needed, which was unfair. And some foster parents didn't take any care of me. It made me feel unsafe and like I couldn't trust the people who were supposed to look after me. Sadly, there were cases of abuse in foster care as well. Some kids were hurt physically, emotionally, or even sexually by their foster parents or others in the foster home. Fortunately, I never had to face that except for a few slaps and a few nights without dinner back in the day. But hearing these things about other kids left lasting scars and made it difficult to trust others. Not all foster care experiences are the same. Some kids are lucky to have loving and supportive foster families, while others face tough challenges. I did not know what would happen. My mom didn't know it as well, but she gave me up and would send gifts through the social workers at times. Expensive gifts. Well, there were days when I struggled to get enough food. She didn't care about me and it made me angry. But with time, my anger turned into indifference. Despite all the challenges, I was determined to make something of myself. I found support from some foster parents, teachers, and mentors who believed in me. They helped me believe in myself and build my confidence. It was towards my 15th birthday when I met some amazing people who became the best foster parents I ever had. I worked really hard on my education to make a better future for myself. I studied a lot, got scholarships, and even had some chances to do internships. Let me give you a couple of examples. One summer, I got to work at a company that does engineering. It was a cool experience because I got to work with professionals in that field and learn a lot about it. It wasn't just sitting in a classroom. I got to see how things work in the real world. Plus, I made connections with people who can help me in the future. This was possible because of my foster parents, and this led to my career and whatever that I am today. These internships and the support from my foster parents were really important in my journey to success. They taught me practical skills, showed me what it's like in the real world, and gave me people to lean on. I'm grateful for these opportunities and the people who believed in me. Now, out of nowhere, my mom contacts me with bad news. She says she's on the verge of being homeless and desperately needs my help. I'm torn about what to do because of everything that happened in the past. She went on to say that she was my mom and not them, so I must help her. I was taken aback by her sudden appearance, but it's weird to just go back to accepting her as my mom. On one hand, I understand that life can be unpredictable and people make mistakes. I know that anyone can face difficult times, but on the other hand, I can't forget the hurt and betrayal from before. After all these years of being absent, can I trust her intentions? Is this just another attempt to use me for her own benefit? I'm not sure if I even want to meet her. I want to hear your thoughts, Reddit. Am I wrong for being hesitant to help my mom in her time of need? Should I put my past feelings aside and lend a hand? Or is it fair for me to prioritize my own emotions and protect myself from potential manipulation? Update 1. So I decided to meet up with my mom after all these years. I went over to her place, and let me tell you, it was like stepping into a fancy mansion. I was taken aback by how luxurious her house was. As we sat down to talk, she opened up about her financial struggles and how she was on the brink of losing everything. Her husband had left her and her kids, leaving them in a tough spot. To be honest, seeing her worried about her kids and her fancy house when I was left all alone really got to me. I couldn't help feeling a mix of anger and hurt. I mean, she had been living in luxury all this time while I was left to fend for myself. It's hard to wrap my head around the fact that she had the means to help me, but chose not to. I'm conflicted and confused. On one hand, I understand that she's going through a tough time, and I don't want her or her kids to suffer. On the other hand, it's hard to forget how she abandoned me and never lent a helping hand. It's a tough situation to navigate. Now I'm stuck wondering if I should offer my support or just turn my back on her as she did to me. It's a difficult decision to make, and I'm still grappling with my emotions and trying to figure out the right thing to do. Update 2. All right, folks, here's the much anticipated update. After much contemplation and soul searching, I made a decision. Brace yourselves, because it's a juicy one. I decided to offer some financial help to my mom in her time of need. I gave her a sum of money, but let me make one thing clear. It wasn't enough to sustain her lavish lifestyle in that fancy mansion of hers. That's something she's got to figure out on her own. Now, here's where things took an ugly turn. Instead of being grateful, she got angry. Can you believe it? She had the audacity to accuse my foster family of manipulating me. Well, let me tell you, I wasn't having any of that nonsense. I stood up for my foster parents and made it crystal clear that they'd be nothing but supportive and loving. I told her that she had two options: take the money I offered or leave it. I made it clear that I wouldn't let her and the kids be homeless, but beyond that, I wouldn't do anything more. It was a boundary I had set for my well-being. In the end, she reluctantly took the money and left. I feel very overwhelmed. Update 3. Hey everyone, here's the final update on this roller coaster of a situation. Things have been quite eventful since my last post, so let me spill the tea. Brace yourselves. So guess who came knocking on my door again? Yep, you guessed it. My dear old mom. She showed zero interest in getting to know me for a whopping 19 years. I called her out of her lack of care and concern for me all these years. I made it crystal clear that I don't consider her as my mom. Sure, she gave birth to me, but that doesn't automatically earn her a special place in my heart. I ain't playing that game. Look, I won't let her end up on the streets because that's just not who I am. But beyond that, I'm done. This is the end of the line for me. I've got my own life to focus on and my happiness to prioritize. So, my dear Redditors, here's where I need your final judgment. AITA for standing my ground, calling out my mom's lack of care, and deciding to distance myself from her drama? Let me know your thoughts, because this is the last update I'll be sharing. NTA, Wow, after reading your story, it's clear as day that you're NTA. You've been through so much. Growing up in foster care and facing neglect from your mom, it takes so much strength to overcome those. Offering her any kind of help, even though she doesn't deserve it, shows you've got a heart of gold. But setting boundaries? Necessary. Don't let her toxic energy bring you down. That's self respect, my friend. You deserve to focus on your happiness and not be dragged down by someone who never showed up when it mattered. Keep thriving and don't let anyone make you doubt your worth. In this situation, you're NTA. Your mom's sudden reappearance after all those years of abandonment doesn't give her a free pass to expect your immediate help. You've worked hard to build a life for yourself despite the challenges you face in foster care. Don't let anyone guilt trip you into sacrificing your happiness and money for someone who never cared enough before. ESH, while your mom's past actions are undoubtedly hurtful and selfish, it's important to acknowledge that everyone in this situation has their flaws. Yes, she abandoned you and lived a lavish life while neglecting her responsibilities as a parent. However, offering some financial help while simultaneously distancing yourself from her seems like a mixed message. While it's understandable to set boundaries, completely shutting her out may not be the best approach. It's a complex situation and it's hard to place the blame solely on one side. Ultimately, it's up to you to decide what's best for your well being and peace of mind. Next story. I, male 30, perpetually have trouble sleeping and sometimes will need to or get up from the bed and try sleeping in a different bedroom or spend some time on the couch. My girlfriend, 30, female, is a light sleeper, so this can cause problems when I enter and exit the room. I try as best I can to be quiet when I enter and exit, but sometimes I can be clumsy or not light on my feet, causing her to wake up. Even when I do nothing other than enter and go directly to my side of the bed, usually I sleep in my office to avoid coming in and out of the bedroom, which wakes her up. We have two spare bedrooms, so sleeping arrangements generally aren't a problem. Last night, I felt like I was actually going to be able to sleep, and I decided I wanted to sleep with her. She had work the next morning. After about 10 minutes of laying beside her, I felt like I was too hungry to sleep, so I went to the kitchen to make some food. I accidentally banged a pot and cupboard, which caused her to yell at me, after which I heard her lock the door of our shared bedroom. We had designed one of each of the spare bedrooms to either of us, and the master bedrooms is ours both to share. I pay both our rent, and I felt like her taking control of the shared bedroom was unfair and disrespectful. I demanded she let me into our shared bedroom, and she responded that I should sleep somewhere else because I won't be able to sleep, which will result in her not being able to sleep. I didn't feel that locking me out of our shared bedroom was either respectful or fair because she could just easily use a spare room if she had trouble sleeping. Eventually, after pounding the door, she let me in, where after I slept and she went to the other room. She's extremely angry at me, it is now the following day, and insists that I'm wrong in asserting that locking me out of our shared bedroom is no bueno, and knocking on the door until she let me in, AITA? How are you 30 years old and think it's fine to knowingly wake your partner up multiple times a night because you've decided you want to sleep with her? Dude, she's not a pillow. She's a person who needs sleep. And you are being malicious and a bad partner. YTA. YTA, you have separate bedrooms because this has been a problem before. You thought you could make it through the night. You chose to sleep in her bed. You were wrong and didn't make it. You then woke her up. She tried to fix the problem and lock the door so you go back to your bed because she wants to sleep through the night like she expected. You then got mad. Because? Next story. My dad came to visit me for a few weeks, and I was excited to see him since we hadn't seen each other in months. However, my apartment is already pretty full with my girlfriend living there, who doesn't pay rent, and me. We have a two-bedroom apartment, but my girlfriend uses the second room as her personal woman cave and prefers to sleep there most nights. The problem was that my dad had to sleep on the couch in the living room, which was causing him severe back pain. He's 70 years old. Plus, it was inconvenient for everyone since we couldn't watch TV late at night without disturbing him. So I asked my girlfriend if my dad could sleep in her room for a few days and she could sleep in my room. Seemed like a reasonable request since my dad was only staying for a few more days. However, my girlfriend wasn't having it. She didn't want to give up her space and insisted that I should sleep on the couch or in her room instead. But her bed was too small for me to sleep in, and I needed a proper place to sleep. I got upset because I felt like she wasn't being reasonable. After all, she doesn't pay rent, and this is my apartment. She still refused and said that I should have planned better for my dad's visit, saying I should have booked him a hotel room. She called me selfish and made it seem like I was the one being unreasonable. Eventually, I got her to let my dad stay in her room, but she keeps bringing it up and making me feel guilty about it. She's actually like I did something terrible when all I was trying to do was help my dad out. AITA here? ESH. You all should have talked about sleeping arrangements before your dad came out to stay with you, not in the middle of this visit. You decided to let your girlfriend live in your apartment rent-free, but that doesn't mean you get to hold that over her head. If you wanted to contribute to rent, then have her start paying her share, but don't use it as a way to play power games. Your father is 70 years old and should absolutely be sleeping in a bed. Your girlfriend is being unreasonable and selfish by refusing to let your dad have her bed for a few nights. Better planning could have saved everyone a lot of trouble and upset. YTA, if you have invited your girlfriend to live with you and are fine with her having her bedroom, are fine with the arrangement, with her not paying rent, then that's what it is. Her bedroom. If you don't like the arrangement, change it. You don't just get to hold this over her head for any disagreement. Whoever invites the guests makes accommodations. If her bed is too small for you both, then it certainly makes the most sense for her to give up her bed and sleep with you. However, it's not her job to accommodate your friend, and the real bottom line issue here is that you're using your living situation, which you clearly agreed to, as an attempt to control her. Next story. For context, me, 28 female, and my sister, 33 female, planned a trip from the US to Portugal. I booked the Airbnb and hotel. My sister asked if she could pay later. I was fine with this. But a week before the trip is when problems start to occur. She still hadn't paid me. She owed me about $1,000. I mentioned it a few times and she sends me half. She says she'll give me the other half cash as she's a bartender. Well, we go on the trip, and suddenly she claims she forgot all of her cards and essentially has no money, leaving me to pay for both of us to do anything. I don't want to ruin my trip, so I agreed, and I believe she'll eventually pay me back. Now, she's my oldest sister, and I'm the youngest. I'm sort of used to my sibling bossing me around, but this time she was being absolutely terrible to me. I've literally never felt so put down in my life. If we got lost, it was my fault. She was constantly yelling at me. She says she doesn't pump gas, so I had to pump the gas every time. One of the places we rented only had one bed, so I had to sleep on the couch. It honestly was the worst trip I've ever been on. I put up with it as I thought arguing would only make it worse. Well, fast forward to the day we were supposed to leave and travel to Amsterdam. She hasn't packed, so I tried to wake up early so she has time and we could make it to the airport. She just goes crazy on me, saying she knows when she needs to wake up and to leave her the frick alone, then goes back to sleep. Well, I decide that's it, and I get an Uber and leave. I also turn off my phone. Well, not only did she miss the flight, but she had no money to leave. She ends up having to call my parents, and they have to help. Well, now my whole family is saying how I'm horrible and how I left her in such a dangerous situation. I thought I was finally standing up for myself, but now everyone is upset with me and my sister won't speak to me. It's really eating me up, so I want outside opinions. AITA? NTA, she chose to go on this trip without any safety money, depending on you for everything and still has the gall to treat you this way? She can frick right off. You didn't abandon her. She's 33, for frick's sakes. NTA, but realize you're not getting any of the money you fronted back. She planned this, thinking she could get a vacation on your time and dollars and credit card. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.